When it comes to selling your creations online, I think pricing can be one of the trickiest things to navigate, especially if you're new to selling online. It's like, where do I start? Is the price too high? Is it too low? Am I even making money? So today I want to cover kind of some of the key things that you need to consider when you're selling your creations online. My name's Lena and I'm the very proud owner of Made It, which is the leading handmade artisan platform. And each week actually in our private Facebook group, we have Tuesday Tips, which is where you're catching up with me or one of the team members, and we're going through some tips so that it can really simplify and amplify your journey with selling online. And this was one of the conversations that came up last week. It was in the session. So I thought that I wanted to share with you some of the key aspects so that you can really start to navigate what on earth you're actually going to price your items as. Now, this is quite a detailed topic and I've got notes organized because I want to go through all the aspects, but remember, I always put the timestamps below. So if you want to skip along to kind of key aspects, just go for it so you can get on with creating and of course selling online. So the first thing that I really want to go through is you understanding what's the end way that you're going to be selling. And what I mean by this is that, are you going to be doing wholesale? Are you going to be selling direct to customer, D2C? It might be what that's called, that you might have heard before, whereas wholesale is B2B, business to business. But it's understanding what the costs are or what the margins are that you need to consider based on how you're going to sell. So as an example, right, if you're going to be doing wholesale or you've got the intention that you want to do wholesale, you've got to remember that retailers want to pop on, like their margin that they want to put on top of your price is at least 100% plus GST. Now, depending on what country you're in, that tax might be slightly different, but obviously here in Australia, that's an additional 10% on top of that 100% that they're going to want to put on your product. So when it comes to how you're going to price, you need to keep that in mind. Now, you might also be wanting to sell direct to customer, whether it's through marketplace like Made It or your own website or perhaps through social media. But you've got to make sure that you can put a price on there that retailers are going to be happy with as well. I know that for me in my fashion business, it was really interesting because when there became the turn of fashion labels selling direct to customer and kind of moving away from that solely wholesale model, all of a sudden, designers were selling for a lot less than what the stores could have possibly sold for. And straight away, that's a really quick way to annoy the stores that you're actually selling into. Now, when it comes to selling direct to customer, there's always a bit of a cost involved as well. Now, if you're going through Made It, it's, your really minimum monthly subscription that you got starting from $10, but you've also got the transaction fee that you need to consider. Now, if you're going through other marketplaces where they might actually charge you a commission, and you want to make sure that you know what that commission is so that you can factor it into your pricing. Once you know sort of like where you're going to be selling, I think the other aspect that comes hand in hand with that first movement is really understanding what are your true costs of creating the product. Now, I think when it comes to cost of goods, the materials, that can be somewhat simple, but a couple of the areas which I see, consistently can be forgotten as a cost, I think it's really important that you factor these in. Straight away, if we're thinking about selling online and we're thinking about shipping our product out, there's a cost with the packaging that you're going to use, because often we can charge the customer for the actual shipping cost, but that doesn't necessarily include all of the packaging that you might have. So is it the box? Is it actually the packaging that you've got to protect the item? Is it the little items that you pop inside when you send that item out? All of those little parts actually add in and factor in to the cost of your products that you're creating. Now, if you are selling through a platform like Made It, where there's a subscription, that $10 fee that you get for that monthly fee, you might want to work that out. Well, hey, if I know that I might sell X amount of products, you might have a figure in mind, then you can split that cost up into each of those individual products, just so that you've got an idea of what the add-on cost is for you to be able to sell online. Now, if you're someone that sells direct at the markets, then obviously you're going to have that market store cost, and also as well the setup cost that it takes you to actually have all your items there, set up, get ready for the day, and you want to make sure that you know what that cost is. Now, while I'd love to say that there's kind of like one great way that you can price your products, there just really isn't, because every business is different. Your business is different to someone else, even if you're playing in the same category, because you'll have nuances which mean that your costing might be different. Now, first and foremost is really thinking about the type of business that you've got. Now, if you're someone that's really just doing this as a sideline hobby, perhaps it's that you're doing it so that you can actually just keep on creating. Trust me, I get you. I know that well. But if you're doing it as a business and you're wanting to potentially make it so that this can become your income, or at least part of your income, then there might be two very different ways in which you approach the pricing. So if this is purely just as a hobby for you, you might be wanting to look at really what's the base cost for you to create the items. And then you might have a really simple formula where perhaps you're timesing that by 3 in order to get the price that you want. Whereas if you were doing this so that you can start supplementing your income, you need to think a little bit deeper than that. And you want to make sure that you're actually factoring in your time that it takes to create the product. Now, regardless of whether you're doing this as a hobby or as a business, you still want to know how long it takes you to make each item. And that's really important from a production point of view. Like, let's say if you're going, I want to get ready and do a whole lot of products for Easter or for Christmas or Halloween, whatever it is, it's important that you know how long it takes you to create a product so that you can even map that out time-wise, so that you go, okay, well, if I've got 4 or 5 hours a week in which I can create products, how long is it going to take me to have enough products? Or maybe it's that you want to do your first market stall and you kind of got to be able to go, okay, if I map out 3 weekends in full, taking 8 hours each day, how many items am I actually going to be able to create so that I can be prepared and ready for that market? So like I mentioned, each artisan's got a different way of working this out. So what you might like to do, let's say if you're like, I'm really prepared, I want to do this properly as a business, I want to go into it so that it's giving me a sustainable rate where I am making profit, then something you might like to do is actually work out what your hourly rate is. Then you can kind of go, okay, well, if that item took me 45 minutes to make and this is my hourly rate, that's something that you want to add on to the cost of goods, right? Onto the materials to work out that end retail price. Now, if you're selling direct to customer online and you're not doing wholesale at all, it may mean that your margin above your materials and above you having your rate paid might be smaller than if you've got a wholesale model. But I still want you to consider a couple of things there. There's things like if you want to offer 10% off, or maybe you want to have promo sales, or maybe you want to have a weekend where you've got free shipping, or maybe you're actually offering free shipping all the time and you want to make sure, well, have I included enough on top to be able to actually offer that as a price? Of course, when it comes to pricing your items, something that you're going to have to do as well is really do research about what other similar types of items are out there on the market and how they're priced. Now, I'm not saying for an instance that you need to base your pricing on someone else's products, but it's just a good practice when it comes to running your business that you know what competitors are pricing their items as, so that you can make an informed decision about what your pricing will be. Now, really interesting misconception is that price is the number one factor or decider when it comes to buying a product. And it's really simply not true, especially when we're talking about artisan handmade gifts. But what you do have to do is make sure that how you show up online, which is through your images, your videos, all of the information that you've got there, that what you've created there is in relation to the value of the price. I think that makes sense how I've said it. But essentially, like, let's say for an example that you've got beautiful handmade earrings. Now, someone might be able to buy just a generic pair of earrings, for $30 in the shops, but you've got yours priced at $130. Now, if yours are priced at $130, what is it that makes it at that price? And you really need to make sure that you're communicating that to the customer. So let's say you've got a particular handmade skill or a technique that you use that really builds into that price. The customer doesn't know that, so you have to share that with them. You have to share that in the description, and you also have to share it in photos. Maybe you show some of the pictures of you behind the scenes of how you actually created, or perhaps it's even video that you're putting on your product page. Now, I know many of you might share that in your socials, but also just make sure that wherever is the point of sale online, whether it's in a marketplace or on your own website, that is communicated at that point. Don't assume that your customer's going to go do the work to find out exactly how you make the product or to understand that true value. Now, one of the easiest ways to show that beautiful value, and I know I keep saying this, but is to have great quality photos, your images, your videos. Those are the ways that customers are buying online. And in our images as well, it's where those super quick decisions are made, where the customer gets drawn into what it is that you're creating, drawn into the artistry, and that they're wanting to click purchase or at least add to cart or add it to their wish list, right? It might be a bit of a longer process for them to actually buy. Like anything in your artisan business, it's not a once and done kind of process when it comes to your pricing. It's something that I really suggest that you're looking into each year and make sure that you're breaking it down to understand what is it costing you to create the items, what is it costing in your time, and also what's it costing in the shipping and the packaging and all of those aspects. Now, something that you might have bought, let's say for an example, you might have had cards printed a while ago where you've had them that they go into each parcel. Now, if you run out of those, for you to replace them or for you to update them, what's the new cost that it's going to be, and making sure that you keep across what are those costs and they're up to date, because as inflation goes up, as the cost of certain products go up, or even the cost of certain products goes down, you want to make sure that you know that so you can look at your pricing and adjust it. And you don't have to keep your pricing all the same. If you start your business and you put it at a certain price, and then somewhere along the way, you go, you know what, I've missed the mark with my pricing, I want to play with it. It's okay. You can. This is your business. This is your destiny. You get to choose. But another thing I want to add in there is that if your products are not selling, don't assume it's because the price is too high. I saw a great video from Creative Hive the other day, and she was actually talking about that when she increased the price on her products, that it actually turned out that she sold more. Because remember, if you've got something priced too cheap, people may not actually believe that it's handmade. So there's a real sweet spot with you being able to really communicate that you're creating a handmade artisan product as well. So if you're looking for a great platform where you can really showcase your handmade, but also be part of a beautiful collective, I really want to invite you to come and check out Made It. It's such a beautiful community. It's such a beautiful platform. Yes, I'm biased, but I do. I love it. But also just pop down in the comments. Let's connect. I love to see what you're doing. And, you know, the greatest way that we can grow is that when we grow together. So I hope this helped today. If you want to get more helpful tips and tricks to help you with your journey online, follow, subscribe, all the things, and I'll talk to you really soon. Bye.